Hi, it's Brad from Backcountry Skiing Canada.com. Today we're here to talk about the Atomic Backland Carbon boot. This is an ultralight dedicated ski touring boot. It comes in at 2,300 grams for the pair, and that's at size 27. So one of the lighter boots we've reviewed on the site to date. This boot would be comparable to the Scarpa F1 Evo from last year, and now the F1 for this year, and also the new Arc'teryx boot that just came out, the Procline boot. This boot comes in a few versions. The generic Backland boot doesn't have the carbon, comes in a women's and men's version, and the Backland Carbon, which is this one, is slightly lighter because of the carbon spine on the back, and then it also comes in a Backland Carbon light version, which is just a little bit lighter than this boot here. The Backland Carbon boot has a 74-degree cuff rotation, which is actually more than the human ankle, so it's got lots of cuff rotation on the skin track. You won't even hit the back or the front, it just pivots so nicely. It's also got a nice big free lock mechanism on the back here, so when you open that up, you've got that full 74 degrees of cuff rotation. You may want to undo the power strap and the front buckle as well, and you can even pull out the tongue as well. I find just opening up the back, the free lock system gives me more than enough pivot on the skin track. It's also got a large pivot here for the top and lower shell. That's their frictionless pivot, as they call it. And as we mentioned before, the carbon spine on the back. This adds strength and also saves some weight, and that gives its rigidity when you're skiing down. The rest of the shell is made up of acrylamide, and it's got the memory fit system built into it, so you can actually heat the entire shell to fit to your specific foot size and foot abnormalities, if you will, and also the liner is moldable as well. The Backland has two buckles only. There's two aluminum buckles on the front, one over the forefoot, and this uses a 3-point cross lace system. So it's just a nice simple system where the cable goes across the forefoot. When you put that buckle down, it really snugs up the forefoot, pulls your heel back into the pocket, and keeps things nice and secure. And the buckles themselves are really simple and easy to use. There's a catch system on the front, so when you do go into tour mode, the buckle won't pop open on you. The other thing to note is there's a power strap up at the top. It's 30 millimeters wide, so that holds the shin in place and keeps a better fit up high on the boot. It's got a rockered sole on the bottom, nice rocker there on the bottom, so it's easy for walking around in the lodge, scrambling up rocks, things like that, and a good rubbered sole on the bottom. The quick click tongue is removable in the front, so if we open up the two buckle systems here, and of course the power strap, we can pull that tongue out fairly easily with a quick snap, and so in tour mode you can go up without the tongue in and replace it for the ski down. I've been experimenting with this, and it does definitely add a bit more flexibility on the skin track, but I don't mind just leaving the tongue in and skinning with it. It's got more flex than most boots that I've tested on the skin track, so I just leave the tongue in when I do skin. The other thing to note as well that on the inside is if we pull the liner out here, so this liner can be hand washed. It's got perforations in the bottom to help with breathability. And it's also got some support zones, so on the forefoot here and also up on the shin, so you don't get shin bang when you're skiing too much. It's a very breathable liner. It's ultralight, made of Ultralon foam, so it is thermomoldable. It's a very light liner, and it's also got a flex zone in the back here, so when you're skinning, the liner does flex as well. One thing to note though, with the Backland Carbon boots, is it does have a shorter cuff by about an inch and a half over other touring boots, so it does ski a little bit differently. There doesn't have that support in the front because it is much lower, but that does save weight as well on the boot. The other thing to note too is the sole length is a lot shorter. So I'm a size 10 normally, which is a 27.5 boot to 28. This is the 27 and 27.5 shell. It comes in at 298 millimeters, and I'm typically about a 314 millimeter sole length. So quite a bit narrower, shorter sole length on these. So I did try and mount them, use them on my existing touring setup, and the bindings wouldn't move back that much that I needed. So I actually had to remount some bindings to get these on a touring setup. So that's the Backland Carbon boot. It runs for $799 Canadian, and skiing this over the past month around whitewater in the backcountry, I'd have to say that It's a very light boot. On the up track, it's a pleasure to walk in. I did test this inbounds as well because I wanted to see what it could do at the resort. And I put this on a 112 ski, the Volcal V-Work BMT ski, 112 underfoot, and it drove it pretty well in the resort. I mean, I wouldn't buy this as a dedicated resort boot. It's meant for ski touring. It's a dedicated ski touring boot, and that's what it does best, but it can definitely ski in bounds as well. It's not going to ski as well as something a little stiffer, a downhill boot, or maybe a crossover boot, but it does a good job. So highly recommend it for touring, and if you're going to ski the resort a little bit, it'll do that as well. For other boot reviews, ski reviews, bindings, skins, you name it, anything backcountry skiing, go to backcountryskiingcanada.com. Thanks a lot.